Hello and welcome to Springboard, your virtual university. My name is Ocran, welcoming you on behalf of Team Springboard, ably led by Comfort. Springboard is your most inspirational show and the point where the greatest minds in the world converge. Springboard is brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation in partnership with the Multimedia Group and proudly sponsored by MTN Pulse, the enterprise group UMB Bank, with media support from the Graphic Communications Group. So here we are on this exciting blockbuster journey called The Engine Room, where we get behind the scenes with frontliners in various fields to find out the what, the why, the where, the who, the how, the tears, the joys, and the tough decisions that they make to get to where they are. The stuff you would never find in any ordinary publication or news platform. So far, we've had the blessing of hanging out with Dinah Hamilton and Israel Laryea. Today, we catch the man they call Pusha, probably one of the most admired faces in film and drama. Find out how he got there, what he does, the engine room of the industry, and who exactly is Adjetey Anang. It's good to see you.
It's always a pleasure, sir.
There's just something about you that makes people like you. And when I grow up, I want to be like you. How are you feeling today?
Much better.
It's your birthday month, so it's so much to thank God for.
Very well. Very, absolutely. Yeah.
When you look at your life and how far you've come in the industry, recognized face across the continent and beyond, did you ever envisage yourself in film when you were growing up?
Not at all. I mean, the only connection that I had with film was because I spent much of my younger days with my grandparents, and it was more like a compound house where they say that guys normally find it very tough to leave their family, their daddy's setting, and so you had uncles who were on a compound and their wives.
What part
and
of town
kids.
was this?
Those Salabadi estates.
Right.
And so I picked up the interest for movies because my uncles would always bring in movies, and this was then video cassettes, and so that's where I picked up this whole movie thing, seeing
what kind of stuff were they shooting at the time?
Oh, from Chinese, to Indian to Western, cowboy, But for me, what really caught my eye was that most of the time, after the movie, there's this behind the scenes, and so then you get to know the personalities playing some of these characters, and I realized that some of them really were not what they were playing, and it fascinated me, and so I got hooked on by then, and then it became more like a hobby. I never really saw myself one day being in front of the camera. No, because I was a bit timid, and I hardly spoke. I rather listened more, and so never saw myself.
Talking about that, really, for those who know you in private, you come across as a very quiet, shy person. So it's only it almost seems like it's only when the lights come on that your anointing comes.
There you go. Yeah.
So what triggered the actual transition from the watching to the doing?
For me, for the best part, the few instances in school when during Easter, Christmas, we have this small drama thing, and somehow I found myself in there. I don't remember whether it was something that I really requested for. It was just thrown at me, and so what I did was just try and remember and imitate what I saw, and take it very seriously. And then people would go like, "Hey, this guy has something," and that was what it was. And how I had some of the gurus in the industry commend me, so I was just thriving on commendations.
Tell me about some of those who commended you, those who inspired you, those you watched and say, that's it.
Yeah, so the likes of David Donto, Akofe Johnny Asidu, and the late Solomon Sampa, all these were great actors in our time when you would love to. These are people where you couldn't even see them in town, and then we didn't have this age of social media was absent, and so it was tough to come by these persons. And so when you saw them, meet them, and they go like, That's good. The Blue Rivers and Juniors, so it was really was something that I thought, if they were saying this, then there must be something in there. And so I said, well, why don't take a second look at this hobby thing? And especially when I also wasn't sure what I really wanted to do, given that Daddy was absent and all that. But I'm sure we'll get into all those.
Tell me about your childhood. I mean, you mentioned Daddy being absent.
Yeah, my childhood is seemingly the ideal family kind of setting. Daddy, mommy, boy, girl. We all dreamed of giving birth. I mean, when we were very young, or to a boy and a girl.
Why?
I think it was a thing in that age where you want a boy and a girl. Daddy, mommy, driving the car, going out, going to church, blah, very ideal kind of image that we had, and that was the situation where I found myself in. But then my dad was very, I'd say, he was a go-getter. He was somebody who was not content with his surroundings, and so he was always on the move. He had his own disadvantages because then mommy had to play daddy most of the time, and he was always out there traveling a lot, and he for a long part, and so for a while I didn't have him at home. There wasn't a father figurehead. I was therefore sampling other characters from either in our neighborhood or then fell on my uncles, and it wasn't all too good examples sometimes, and so that was it. It made me fall into other companies that had their plus and minuses, but to a large extent when it came to fatherhood, there was a bit of a disconnection, and then I found myself in secondary school because it wasn't also. We had to write, but we didn't have the expediency as today as we did, and even posting letters, etc. So there was a break in connection to a large extent, and so I lost that bit there. It had its own impact on me growing up,
right.
But basically that was how it was.
So you got into secondary school, and you what subjects were you interested in?
So, even before his absence, he was a biochemist, and there was also those days daddies would tell you what to do mostly.
What did he want to do?
He was drawing me towards the sciences, and he was into all this manufacturing thing. He did some kind of pottery. He was manufacturing soap as well, so he wanted me to sort of been in that family kind of line of business. But I looked at his lifestyle. It was pretty much work, home, no social life. And I had been exposed to movies. I could see example of daddies, with their kids, going out to the circles, going out to the playground, having fun. And that was totally absent in mind. And I wanted that, It was more fun, the fun side of daddy and then the kids and then the family. And I thought that, wait a minute, if I were to go into that direction, probably that's how my life was going to be. So I really sort of
disconnected
from that. And yeah.
You mentioned a few role models that you got the chance to interact with. Which of them really made time for you and spoke into your life?
I think in the very beginning, it was more of Blue Rivers and Junior, and he just didn't feed me with information, but his lifestyle spoke volumes for me, and so I just had to look at where he was going, and the things that he would as it were not do, things that he would do under what scenarios and situations. He told me that one thing that I won't forget is that you go in there into the industry and make sure that the industry does not make you, because then there's a whole culture going on, and you have a role to play in there. Make that impact and pull out, but don't be a part of the system, as it were. It was I didn't really understand that much, until practically I engaged.
We'll come to that part. I'm very curious about that part, but let's talk about the trigger points.
Right.
So beyond school, when was the first production? What was the first production, or what was the first encounter with? Was it on stage? Was it in film? Where did you break it down?
So my first encounter was with GBC, was a GTV. It was a school piece drama that was telecast on TV. So that was my first, but it was not on the professional level, it was the amateur level. So if you'd go into the professional, there would be TV theatre where we did the drama. And it was my first time on screen. I'd seen the Fred Amugis, the Sefakais, who were part of a drama group that I'd accidentally bumped into. Seeing them really was like, oh, finally, here they are. You know, I remember the director then told me that if I'd continued coming for rehearsal, he would give me a role. I thought it was a big joke because, you know, who was I? And so they were rehearsing a script, actually, and I think one character did not turn up, so they asked me to read the part. And I read it, you know, I'd seen them, so I wanted to really impress them with what I'd seen in the movies. And they were kind of, have I done any movies? Have I done anything? I'm like, no, please. And it's like, okay. And then the director gave me that promise. Of course, the subsequent times I turned up for rehearsal wasn't because of the promise the director made to me. It was more to sit close to Stefake or Fred Amugi, you know. And then eventually, somehow, this character who was cast for that part did not turn up. And indeed,
The same character again.
That what became my first role ever. And that was where...
Do you actually remember that particular production, the name of the production?
Not Without a Fight. It was a daddy who had 4 kids and, you know, was very, very protective of them. And I was coming in as a suitor, the youngest. And, you know, the clash between daddy protecting, you know, his daughters from, you know, an outside suitor.
And who was the daddy in that film? That production?
Yeah, I remember. But I remember that confrontation that I had with Fred.
I can just imagine so acting out a part with such intensity and then interacting outside the part without any of what happens. I mean, is it like a dual personality when you act?
It's you know, taking up a character that you are, for the most part, not, you know, in real life. And it's more like, especially, I remember those days when I was playing the character Pusha. It was a totally, you know, we didn't have a lot in common with the character. I didn't have a lot in common. And so even some of my mates, when they realized that I was playing Pusha, one of my mates remarked that I'm sure some explosion did happen in this boy's life and he's turned around, because this is not the Adjetey they knew in school. You know, a total transformation, and didn't even know that I could even talk that much and so much confidence. But I believe that that's what acting is all about. You take on this clothing of this character that you're not, and you play it so convincingly, and then once done, you take the cloak off, and you're
Just like that.
It requires you know, a number of you know, really researching, making sure that you're getting the mannerisms that it's very easy for you to express the way you express in real life as Adjetey, and then we find that in the character Pusha. And so you must really draw the lines in really building a character that is totally different from you.
Does it clash sometimes?
Yes.
Do you find yourself waking up in the night and saying, but that's not me? I mean, do you
Yes.
you have conflicts between your reality and the roles that you wear? You mentioned like a cloak, the roles that you wear. Are there sometimes conflicts?
Oh yes, there are, and most of the times is what it has a direct relation to my upbringing and my nurturing, and the whole perception about even the actor, and what would my family think, you know, about this? What would society think about this? And those were early days, and where people were a bit skeptical about certain roles that you play. They would rather you play the angel and the pastor all through, and not the bad guy.
I hear the nice roles don't bring money. Tell me about that part.
Yeah.
Would it be the case that sometimes the roles that one would call the decent roles are not really for the big guys in industry, those are not the award-winning roles? Would that be the case?
Well, not entirely, especially when we have a reference point with a place like Hollywood and the movies that come out. In actual fact, movies that have really made, has been critically acclaimed and made the awards, you don't find all the characters, the action roles, really breaking those grounds. It's those that are very, very thought-provoking, that really task your intellect. Those are roles that are, you may call the goody-goody roles, or those that really have an impact on our society, that really find themselves in those spaces. So not entirely.
I'm curious about what you're just saying. You talk about tasking your intellect.
That's right.
For somebody who's planning to go into movies, film, give me an idea about the intellectual taxation that you mentioned.
Right. So one of the things that and probably maybe I'll shift to NAFTI, for example. I happen to be a lecturer in NAFTI, a part-time lecturer, and I keep telling my students that we have such a powerful medium, and whatever we put out there, material we put out there, will be consumed by the public, and therefore we should be responsible for the choices that we make, because we are creators, and the goal has been to shift from just a medium of entertainment to tasking people to think for themselves, to really think and find solutions to some of the basic things that we should have outgrown and found solutions to. And so when I say the intellect, it's really making us think, even if it's laced with humor and wit. There has to be something out there when somebody goes back and reflects that Adjetey was saying me jai, or send me for another angle, let me take this other approach, so that in effect we're entertaining ourselves, but we're building something, and so that for me has been the direction, and it surprised you to know that unfortunately for our audience, when you sort of want to task somebody to think a bit, then you have a problem, because for them, they see theater or the film setting to be a place where they distress, a place where from all that they've gone through, they'd want to come to a space where they can let it out and laugh at their problems, which therapeutically has its place. But then when you overdo it, or if you will, it's the norm, then we're not able to really harness what this medium or what this industry and how it can impact us as a people, and therefore those has been some of the clashes that we've had in tasking people to really think about their own situations and what really we grapple with as a people on a day-to-day basis.
Let me go to your the role that made Ghanaians know Adjetey Anang. I mean, the first time I saw you,
right?
Things You Do for Love.
Yeah.
That series was just magical.
Yeah, it was.
Tell me about it and how you got on it.
So, I had a friend called Wakefield Akwako. He was also in the industry.
I was in school with Wakefield.
Oh, great. It must be. Yeah. And he actually got me into the drama group where I met the Fred Amugis, etc. That landed me my first role. And he said that there was an audition going on for a new series. We started with radio. And so he wanted me to read a part. And so I went in there. I actually got a role for the other character, Bibi, who Pusha would, sort of mentor. And so we started reading for radio, and then it got to a point where they wanted to bring it out on TV. And then a director asked me to switch characters. And I thought that there's a problem, because I had read Pusha's character. He was just such a bad boy. This were the no signs that your parents would tell you, hey, don't go any close. And yet, this is what he wanted me to play. And I then was also working with the Groma National Drama Company, so I was getting some knowledge as far as theater acting was concerned. And so for me, it was more like, okay, let's see how this character, because I can't pull that from Adjetey. So how can we make this character live and be very, very identifiable? And I took trips to some bars along the coast, Jamestown.
You did?
Yeah, because I was getting information from my gurus on how to really bring up a character. And I just bought a bottle of Coke and started observing. You'll be amazed at things that you pick up.
Wow.
The larger-than-life characters who probably may not have had anything to eat, but then the gesturing, the loudness, and it was fascinating that I picked characters that I imbibed into Pusha. And when I played it, my neighbor was telling me that, hey, Charlie, that's your work. You'd be like, Bakbo, you work. I didn't even know. So people were connecting from different, angles of who this character represented. And for me, that was what, in a lot of ways, made Pusha stick, because they realized that there was a Pusha in almost every neighborhood, because it was so real, it was so practical. And yeah, that was how Pusha found his.
Was that a turning point in your career?
To a very, very large extent, it was. And I had a number of offers coming from even the school, school of performing arts. Why don't I come to school? And I still wasn't sure. But people, especially the gurus in the industry, were saying that, look, take a shot. I mean, why not? You have the talent. We just feel that maybe add some training and skill to it so that it blossoms. And so I gave it a shot, and that's where it got me into the School of Performing Arts.
So let's backtrack a bit on your education. So your first line of education was in science?
So yes, it was in science, and then I switched to arts. Oh, that was when I went to Form 3, switched to Form 3.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, so your first degree was at the School of Performing Arts?
That's right.
Right. Tell me about that. Did you ever meet Martin Owusu?
Oh, yes. He was the director, Professor Martin Owusu.
Yes.
That gentleman.
Tell me about him.
He was such... words fail me sometimes, but all I can say is that he really made us think. He pushed us to the edge. For him, it was not just about what was in the books. You can't come to Martin and give the impression that you've read everything in the books. He would prove to you that, you can read all that, but once you can practicalize it in your locality, in your setting, then you're not making any impact. And so he made us to think beyond, in other words, apply what we have learned in our situations, and examples that would even give, the quality of examples we even give was so tasking on us that we had to really do much more than expected. And he was such a strong pillar for most of us. One of the things that he did, which I'm sure he didn't even realize, was when level hundreds come, and then he used me as an example and said that, look at Adjetey Anang, try and be like him in terms of not just academically, but how he carried himself in discipline, and how he transports what we learn here into the field. And it was such a huge challenge for me, because then, yes, I was being commended, but then it was also making me realize that, okay, then I can't make him eat his words. I needed to fulfill all the words that he had sent out there. People are going to watch me and going to find out, okay, what he says is really true. And it somehow shaped me in making sure that I didn't disappoint him, as it were. And right. He really was a great impact on me academically. And
we celebrate him for that.
Definitely.
So for the cluster of people you went to performing arts with,
right.
Are some of them still doing big stuff in industry?
Yes, a few are. Most of them have gone behind the scenes, like Abe Kwakwa. He was my counterpart who played Killer in Things to Do for Love.
Right.
David Bossman was the other BB character. He's also gone behind the scenes. I think that for those of us who, my colleagues, most of them have gone behind the scenes, and they've left me in front of the camera.
When you say behind the scenes, are they like directors?
So they're directors and doing
them
production, behind the scenes. Working on, managing the production in its entirety. Others have gone into graphics, etc. They've really gone. Meanwhile, they were very, very active in front of the camera and on stage. Yeah.
How big is the industry? Because you're mentioning some of the roles that people don't get to see. For the benefit of those who are, this is a behind the scenes conversation. So for the benefit of those who see a film and they see probably 20 characters and they think it's great. Give me a sense of the other roles behind the scenes that make it happen.
Right. It's very huge, and so even costuming, it's one big area, and I think that one of the things that we do not appreciate much is what goes into that, and the fact that a costumier will take a script and can determine that, okay, I'm going to give you gray materials or dark colors because of your journey throughout the production, the story, and so you're an orphan, or you have so much not going for you, you're abused, you touch this, it fails. We can give you bright colors.
That level of detail?
Yes. We can give you bright colors because that sends a different message and information. And so we would give you those things, and even the kind of hair that you make. Unfortunately, what we've been fed with has contradicted this, because then you have an age where social media and show business is the order of the day. And so when you have a diva who you would want to give dark clothes, she's like, oh no. She has her own suitcase of, shopping, and I want to look good, so I need to wear something bright and very nice, because they are focused on they're self-conscious. They're self-conscious, and so how do I'm going to look on, in the face of in social media, my fan base? It has to always be my best side, forgetting that you're playing a character that is not you, and so showbiz has had its disadvantage in terms of some of these specific areas where should have impacted our movie making in a lot of ways, and we've had some conflicts there.
Are there potential long-term damages to focusing wrongly on your fan base instead of the art and the craft of what you are doing?
Oh yes, there are, because then the young generation are learning from us, and show business has become so huge that it's now the thing, and people are just thinking about that, and therefore we're sacrificing what really should go into the making of our productions, our storytelling, etc. And we're not having the quality that we should have. People are just being detached from the characters that they play, and from their own personalities that they want to sort of project out there, and it's doing more harm than good.
Talking about projection, when people meet you and try to relate to you based on what they see in the movie as against your real life, does it annoy you?
There've been a few times that I've been bitter, other times too, it's been, I've had this voice telling me that you must be doing something good. So take for instance this lady who would were requested to be guests, do some kind of guest appearance at the Sataland Park, and it was a youth kind of event going on, and so I was in company with one of the casts of Things to Do for Love, and this young boy takes off from the mom. He recognizes me, of course, and then comes to hug me. The mom is not sure who this is, probably a relative or so. She's getting closer, and then she makes me out. And then she becomes very stern and rigid, and then grabs the boy's arm and is like, stay away from such rascals. For a moment, I thought she was, it was just a play. But she was serious. And she walks off. And I'm like, come on, man, this is Adjetey, this is not Pusha. For her, there has to be some marriage between Pusha and Kad. We must have something in common. That's why I can play that bad boy so much. So, no. She wouldn't want my Sometimes we walk into a fast food joint, you realize that if you watch, you would see that the mothers who have daughters are looking out for where their daughters are, sort of bring them close, because, okay, the bad boy just walked in. Where will people draw the line? It's unfortunate in one sense that people cannot really detach us from who we play. But then again, I think that over time, we've also created that perception because of our lifestyles. For some, it's an extension of it's still movie making, even when camera says cut. And that has been an unfortunate part, because we've used some of the styles, the characters that we play, and we've brought them into real life, and his life still goes on. And bad boy on camera, bad boy off camera, and this has really been grounded in the minds of parents, and so they always want to tag you as these are the bad.
When I come up from this break, I'm going to finding out the real Adjetey versus the pusher that is out there, and also find out how some of the difficult decisions that one has to make in that kind of industry and that kind of work. Find out the temptations, the battles, the fights, the misunderstandings, the tears, the pain that characterizes being a star, especially in the movie industry. This is Springboard Virtual University, brought to you by the Springboard Ratio Foundation in partnership with the Multimedia Group and proudly sponsored by MTN Pulse, the Enterprise Group, UMB Bank, with support from the Graphic Business. On Tuesday, on page 18 of the Graphic Business, download the full transcript of this conversation with Adjetey Anang, and then find out the life and times of the man everybody calls Pusher. But he says the real Adjetey is the diametrically opposed version of the Pusher that you love, and he's just happy to be who he is. Let's go for a break. When we come back, let's talk a bit more. Please don't go away.
Priorities. According to a World Economic Forum article, people typically spend less than 10% of their time on the things that are important but not urgent. We either get distracted by the urgent but unimportant matters or firefighting. Setting priorities is critical for sustainable individual, corporate, and national success. Paraphrasing John Maxwell, we choose our life by how we spend our time and resources. To change your life, you need to change your priorities. To prioritize, you must have 1. Clear goals and vision. 2. Link your daily action to your goals. 3. Break down your daily actions and execute relentlessly. Our question for today is, are the actions you're taking today helping you build your desired tomorrow?
Don't be left out. Download the Pulse app from the App Store or Play Store to mash up all day, every day. You can also enjoy more mashup. Just buy the new Mega Bundle and get 3 gigabytes data, extra 400 megabytes for your social apps, and free MTN to MTN calls every Monday. So go ahead, feel the Pulse on MTN Pulse. Just be. We're good together. Everywhere you go.
There once was a man who had it all. He had skill, he had charisma. He was loved by all, but above all, he knew the importance of helping others, lifting others up. He knew the importance of giving other people an advantage so that they too would use that advantage to help others. All you need is that advantage that sets you apart from the rest. And when you discover that advantage, life's challenges don't seem so daunting anymore. That's where we come in. Enterprise, your advantage.
UMB was established in 1972 as the premier bank for the corporate and private sector in Ghana. From our very beginning, as the only Ghanaian bank serving all categories of businesses, we set a standard for excellence and innovation. Over the past 45 years, we've built a financially healthy and strong bank, demonstrated our commitment to our customers and to growing businesses, and exhibited originality and innovation at every turn. At UMB, our focus is built around people, service, products and technology. These are the key to our present success and our future triumphs. At UMB, we're poised to make a difference not only with our customers, but also in the banking industry. We invite you to share in our future. Our future starts now with you.
Welcome back to Springboard Virtual University. Today, rolling on with our series called In the Engine Room. We are holding a microscope, a telescope, binoculars, getting into the engine of the film and theater industry with Adjetey Anang, my guest for today. And let me say a big thank you to our partners, MTN Pulse, UMB Bank, the Enterprise Group, and of course our media partners, the Multimedia Group and the Graphic Communications Group. I just think before we went on the break, I'm going to tell you my lessons from your conversation so far. But before we went on the break, Nicole was talking about delayed gratification.
Right.
Literally, as it were, holding on to enjoyment for today in favor of tomorrow. Is it part of your philosophy? Have you ever had to hold on to certain pegs you would rather have because of the future?
Yeah, it's amazing that you mention it. I have a very, very practical example. There was a point where when I had married and I was just getting contracts here and there, left, right, center. I then happened to be a youth facilitator at ICGC Christ Temple. And most of these young people were interested in movies and they see me on TV. It was a big deal for them. They wanted to know how I do it and how a Christian would still be in that field, etc. So there were a lot of dialogue going on most of the time on Sundays after church. Now, here was I had a contract from a very, very, one of these big alcoholic beverage companies. And they were doing a series. And they wanted me to be a part of this particular one. And it was more like looking at my journey from the Pusher days into now. And at the end of it all, I was supposed to drink this drink. And I was like, oh no, I can't drink. So, okay, so we had a back and forth. And then they said, you're not going to drink. So they made me an offer. It was huge. So it is one of the biggest I've ever, because they also knew the implications. They're using my brand and the impact that they knew it would have. It was then I had this conflicting, I was in a dilemma. For us on the home front, it was more like God has answered our prayer because we were praying for a breakthrough.
You were broke.
Oh my goodness. We're praying specifically for a financial breakthrough. There was so much that we wanted to do at that specific moment. And for my wife and I, this is it. God has opened the door. But we slept over it all night, Charlie. Why are we having this, So I approached Pastor Ocran. I talked to Reverend Mesa then as well. Pastor Ocran was then here. He hadn't left. And we talked, and they gave us, they didn't say yes, no. They gave us even more to think about. And I think they even gave me a passage to read and let God speak to me. It did a lot of good. However, in the physical, it was more like, how can we let this go?
You still think about how you manage to make those decisions.
And one of the areas that really, really got us to take a decision was the idea that I will go to church on a Sunday and one of these young boys will come and say, hey, sir, I saw you drinking alcohol on TV. For them, the image is enough. It doesn't matter the 1,000 words you've spoken about. Focus on your books, no drinking, no focus of alcohol and drugs, no. For them, that's the image they carry. So, okay, it's cool to drink. And I didn't want that at all. I didn't want to confuse them at that level, and I thought that I owed them so much. I was responsible for them. These were young people who God has given to me to sort of mentor and lead them, And so I could not put them in that dilemma. So I told my wife that, you know what? It's a no. It was painful. Look, I say it so easily, but it was painful. But I trusted, I just needed to trust God that this would be an opening for me. And true to his word, look, the doors that open for me, you can't place value on. It's just amazing from there on.
These stories are beautiful because somebody listening to you today will make a decision today, now.
Yeah.
So you're saying that you walked away from huge money, and at that time it was very difficult. But you look back now, and you see it was the right decision.
It was.
And Elam was a big part of that decision.
Yes,
you know, I'm a very big fan of Elam.
Yeah.
We've done stuff together, we went together at church, but I celebrate you and Elam for what you represent.
Thank you.
I'm going to find out how you
That's crazy.
But for you, looking back, no regrets.
No regrets at all.
But it was huge.
It was huge.
But no regrets.
No regrets.
If you're making a big decision like that, these are the parameters that you want to use in making that big decision about delayed gratification or anything else that involves a conflict between your values and then your opportunity.
That's right.
Let me celebrate the pastors who gave you guidance. They are friends of mine, so let me steal the platform to celebrate the Reverend Kofi Ochere in Milton Keynes in the UK. Thank you so much for being there for him at the time. Did you say Pastor Alan?
Alan Okumime.
Reverend Alan Okumime is very popular on this platform. Thank you for providing them with the tools to make these important decisions. And I suspect that because they didn't prescribe a solution, it was easier to take their counsel. If they had said, don't do it, I'm sure you would have rebelled.
I know, probably. Yeah, but it was...
So that was about delayed gratification.
That's right.
So let me give you my lesson so far. Maybe you will see that you haven't done badly at all. So if you just joined us, this is Adjetey Anang in the engine room with me here on Springboard Virtual University. And as is our custom here, lessons from Adjetey Anang. Number one is about admiring the gurus. Just going to watch others who were acting and then just admiring what they did and learning by observation. Number two is about opportunity. It says one character didn't show up one day, and they said, can you try it? What was the first name of that character? Do you remember?
Gabi.
Gabi, wherever you are, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord do you good, because your absence that day was the opening of the door for... So Gabi never came back?
He never did.
Charlie, that was
He's in the US.
It was probably your destiny.
It must have been.
It was
I believe so.
God opening the door for you.
Just at that time.
So opportunity, stepping in when somebody didn't show up. In this case, Gabi didn't show up for the rehearsal. Number three is about professionalism. He says, theater makes you take on a role that is possibly diametrically opposed to your reality or your persona. But you wear it like a piece of clothing and take it off afterwards. And he says, sometimes it comes with conflicts between who you really are and what you're supposed to act. Number four is about intellect and philosophy. He says, film and theater must make us think. It must engage us intellectually. Beyond all the humor and the wit, there is also a place for reflection. Number five is training. He says he honed his craft. In spite of all the fans, all the progress, he made time to go and hone his craft to the degree at the School of Performing Arts, where he was largely influenced by Professor Martin Owusu, and he went on to become a part-time lecturer at NAFTI, correct?
That's right.
Excellent. Number six is observation. I love that one. He says, taking a role involves research and adaptation. He says, for Pusha in particular, he had to literally go and visit bars on the coastline and buy a bottle of soft drink, sit down and watch the larger-than-life characters come and perform, and you see, that's how Pusha is supposed to act. So if you are in acting, that is the engine room for you. Number seven, he says, invisible roles. He says, most industries are far larger than those you see on set or on the front line. And he says, people like costumers have to do a lot of thinking, reflection on the science and everything of the role to design the outfit, the colors that you are supposed to wear. And he says it's really a science. Let me stay with the background people a bit. Obviously, you were mentioning about
the art
special
direction.
effects.
Yeah, so the art direction team are responsible for all those. For example, if you have a shoot a shot there, how the effects that they create, it's all artwork. One significant one, if you've seen the Passion of the Christ, the nail hole that in Jesus's palm, and it's all artwork. They have to draw and use all kinds of colors, etc., to give you that image, and then when the special effects team comes in, and then it makes it whole. So it's a whole new.
You know the crazy thing.
Yeah.
That picture of Jesus' palm with the nail hole will probably be on the screen for just 5 seconds.
That's right.
But it probably is a month of design.
It takes a lot of time. Sometimes, just to do that on set, the art direction team would take about an hour just to create that. in your palm using all sorts of materials, etc., to give you that effect. And
Does it get boring on set when they keep doing the same thing over and over?
I think once you know what it takes, you're prepared for it, and so it doesn't really get boring. And if you show interest, you actually pick a thing or two and appreciate what work goes into it, and also for your own repertoire. Probably, especially when most of us will also go into production ourselves, then it's an opportunity for you to learn. Even though you're a performer, you can also get some knowledge when it comes to art direction.
Apart from the performing, which of the background roles are you likely to go into in future?
It would probably be directing.
Why?
Because I think that you are the guy in the seat. You have the total picture, and you make the calls. And when you are in that position, then you're responsible for the total picture.
Let's tune your attention to celebrate any director in Ghana who has impressed you. I mean, it's nice to say, I like celebrating people.
Right.
And I'm sure the person is probably watching you and enjoying it. From nowhere, you just mention their name and they're like, wow, the person thinks that highly of me. If you wanted to celebrate a director that you think this person really pushed the frontiers.
Shirley from Portman. So.
I guessed it.
Yeah, he did.
I somehow guess it would be Shirley.
Shirley.
What about Shirley makes her impress people so much? She seems to get it right.
Yes. Beyond a mastery of her craft, there's one thing that I give it to her, and is that it doesn't matter if you are a Denzel Washington or whoever, any of these big actors. If she wants something, she will get it out of you. So she wouldn't come on set knowing that, this is an A-list actor, let him be and let him just deliver. She would come to you, she would stop you in the middle of a performance and tell you, okay, no, I need it more heightened. I need you to tone down on this one because it's the effect I want you to create. She just pushes you, and she has somebody would say that she has guts to even tell an A-list actor that, no, don't get up on that line, sit. And she prove to you why she wants you to sit. She knows her craft. And she would never come on set knowing that, you have it all and so come and deliver and go. She would ask you questions about your role. It's as if we're starting from the basics again. And some people may be intimidated, some may not really like her style because, hey, I've been in the business all this, and you can't talk to me like I'm a beginner. But it's an entirely different story. And if you from her direction, if you look at what you want to do with this material, then we need to go back to the basics. This is a whole new production, and these are the goals, and you have to be a part of the wagon. And therefore, her ability to look beyond whatever marks you've made in the industry.
She doesn't really care. She goes for excellence.
Yes, that for me.
What was the most successful collaboration with Shirley?
No, there are a number of them, but I think that A Sting in the Tail would stand out for me.
These titles, A Sting in the Tail, tell me about movie titles and what they mean, crafting them, what it takes, acting them, what it means, and reflecting on them, what it evokes in you.
What in one breath, what it does, some of these storylines, is to make you the actor think, and that it is not, they're not titles that, when you write them, you immediately can tell that, this is what we're talking about. But it's so pregnant with ideas and so many things going on. Therefore, it's only when you only realize this at the end of the production, like, now I get it, why this thing in the tail. And so it's a journey that both characters during shoot and then the end consumer go through as they're watching the story. Help us find out this title in the story.
Have you ever had to change the title halfway through or at the end of a film?
Oh yes, it's been done a number of times. Sometimes, so most of the time, they will begin with a working title, because these things sometimes, especially in the director's minds, as they go in, they realize in new inputs. This would work better. Realizing this, the story on paper, and then getting onto the field, so many things happen. We get on set and things change just because of the location where we find ourselves in. It's really something that the director didn't even envisage, and therefore there's an add-on based on the practical setting that was not what was in mind initially.
Let me ask you one more question. Have you been broken on set before? Have you been broken in this industry before?
Yes, I have.
By what?
There was a scenario where actually partly created. It was how to really connect with my audience at the end of the day, and I had to really let go, and therefore I went into my real life experience about an incident that happened to a young child. And I know I'm very sensitive to young kids and what they go. Even when they are sick, I wish I could take the sickness so that they are free.
Is that why you went into youth facilitation in church?
Probably. On hindsight, I could say I think so. Even though unconsciously, it's something that I didn't really know, and that really got to me, and therefore, even though audience could see that I was letting go, it wasn't because of the scene. But it was a connection that I had made in real life.
So you cried on set?
So I did. I really. And it impacted on the other character, Majid, wasn't supposed to cry, but he also ended up breaking up because I had
you mentioned
touched
Majid,
him.
and you mentioned, and these are people see as larger than life characters.
Right.
But you are human.
You are.
What do you fear the most?
I believe that what I fear the most is when the feedback that I get, and they're in twofold. One is when I know for a fact that was not my best, and then people are like, "Oh wow, you did that!" I'm like, "Oh goodness, please, just be sincere. Just because it's Adjetey Anang, you can't tell him that he goofed here or there." And I think that sometimes our audience are not really sincere with us. They want to thrive on the fact that all is good, all is well, and we need that. Honesty from them, because that's the only way we can grow, and it has also shaped us into demigods where it's like we can never go wrong. They have a role to play in shaping us and letting us know that, Charlie, this is where we erred. Then the other would be that nobody took anything away or they missed the point. And I've seen a number of times where I have questioned, so what really did they get a message in there? Did they find themselves in the story that they can relate to? And then they talk of very superficial things. Oh, his movie was nice. It was nice. I just love the way you acted. It's like, something is wrong somewhere. It's either we have not been able to really make them understand what the message has been about, or they just totally did not get it. They were looking for something else, and those have been my fears.
Right.
Yeah.
But they are powerful fears. So you're saying that your two big fears are insincere feedback.
That's right.
And then also acting out a play that the message gets lost in midstream.
Yeah.
That's quite strong.
Yeah.
Let me talk about temptation. Is the industry is it a very tempting place to be?
Oh, it is. It's so huge. And for some time, I was a loose cannon, and when I say a loose cannon, it was even before marriage, and because I didn't have a template to prepare me to this show business. I'd lived in, you want to say, two generations. A generation that didn't know social media, and now the one that did. And so you're not prepared. You just throw into it, and it's all this attention from all kinds of people, especially for a guy, from the ladies, and they see you there screaming, I was like, oh, I do this. And so I find myself in pleasing my audience, because I somehow the culture was give them what they want, and they'll make you, they'll praise you. You have your fan base is going to increase. Following was such a big deal when it comes to social media. For me, it was just pleasing them. People send me messages and I want to immediately reply. I spend hours replying messages because, especially when somebody goes like, oh, as for this, your other colleague, when you send the message, they don't even reply. But you do it so well, and you tells you how humble you are and how you make it so easy to access you. But I was causing some damages. And so this led on. Sometimes I lead people on and I send emojis that I shouldn't send. Before you realize it's becoming very, very intimate emojis, and we're dialoguing. I'm like, hey, Adjetey, where did I get here? And you want to pull out, and somebody said that, hey, no, we've come too far, or you come
really?
too far. And they want to threaten you. It's a whole new world out there, and you have to be careful. It triggered into marriage setting, and so it created where third parties were coming in with all sorts of messages, and some people sent me photos, and this was really becoming huge. There a lot of times where I brought so much hurt and pain to my wife, and the times where, so because of that, intentionally I'd make sure that premieres and stuff, I'll find ways in which she would not be able to go because it gives me leeway to meet these characters in person, beyond just texting. And it brought so much harm, so much hurt.
But you and Elam have a beautiful marriage.
Oh yeah, but a lot has gone in.
I must interview Elam to find out what does it mean to be an actor's wife, because Elam and I get on very well. She tells me how she supports. And you met on set, didn't you?
Yes, we did. Just for the benefit of those tell us how it happened. So it was on Things to Do for Love set.
Things to Do for Love, Charlie.
I know.
It really was a watershed moment in your life.
Yeah, it was. And it was, we all started as a family kind of thing. We're young, and so for us, being on the screen was a big deal. Most of us were in school, and we're all about the same age. I think probably I and a few others were a bit older. And I saw her in the company of this other girl, Fabia Yolanda, and you know when you see girls who are well brought up or from a good home, it's how they talk, how they behave on set, how they carry themselves, and I just wanted to be a part of that clique, especially when my grandmother's words have never left me. That a good name is better than riches. It may sound like a cliche, but it does magic when you focus on a good name. And so I formed some kind of friendship, but it didn't really thrive until we met at the University of Ghana. But of course, we had a basis there, and there were things that I admired in her. And that was where, when we met at the University of Ghana, then it picked off and it blossomed into something more beautiful. Yeah.
I think you represent what many would aspire to have. Even the challenges that you mentioned are themselves a great testimony for people who are also going through their challenges, because you are bold enough to say, I struggled with these challenges. Oh, yes, and so where did you find the strength to, where do you find the strength to?
It's amazing that my wife is just phenomenal. It's for me, she's such a gift. And when I look back, I look at how God brings people into my journey purposefully, so that I achieve whatever He's placed, me here for. And she has been such a strong impact on me. She really needed to understand what I was going through and understand what's the dangers that this industry offers. And for her to realize that it was a combination of not having some kind of mentorship as far as dealing with these issues were, and really helping me out. And so we had to really, analyze things, decide to, okay, now I can't go anywhere without her. And I had to really enjoy. It wasn't that, okay, this is a military kind of tactic, so you do this.
I like the word
tactics. Sometimes it called for that, because we're in a battle. Because people out there, create the impression as if they also own me.
But they do in their minds. And that's the beautiful thing about acting so well.
Yeah.
Because that's in fact, it's your fault that you act so well. So people own the character and want to extend the relationship beyond the screen.
That's right.
What's the future like for Adjetey Anang? Just to wrap up, what do you see when you look into the future?
I see a lot of bright opportunities. Because for me, it is. I've got to the point where it is no more Adjetey's agenda, but it is God's agenda, and that's where my focus. I want my focus to be. I know that it hasn't been by accident that I've been in this industry. It is for me to play a certain part, a key role, which is vital for young people who God has given so much talent to be able to find a way and have a clear path into impacting this industry. And so for me, there's so many opportunities that I want to even use the body of Christ and engage them much more in this industry, because I think that we have a responsibility and a role to really bring in a lot of sanity, a lot of discipline, which has been one of some of the areas that have really cost us as a body. Yes, it's important that we're skilled, we're trained in this profession, but when we don't have character, that's very little that we can do. And for me, I think that the future is very bright as far as I stay on course and make this happen for many.
Let's end with the industry as a whole, the future of the industry. What would you like to see change in terms of policy, in terms of approach for the future of this? Because we're looking at expanding the economy, we're looking at creating much more space. I've hung out with a number of actors who want key players, who want to see this industry grow, employ more people, make this place a hub, and compare us to what is happening in Nigeria, other parts of Africa, and say, listen, we can do even better. What would it take?
I think I'm not sacrificing professionalism, and for a lot of our productions, for a lot of our works, people have sacrificed that. We haven't really been able to really get those who are competent for specific roles, and it's always been based on emotional, based on ways in which the cut connects and just save some money, and so just get this guy in the neighborhood who seemed to have his head screwed on well, even though he may not be the best for the role, and that has cost us, and therefore it's limited us to this setting, and we've not had that global appeal. In times where we have really been focused in being professional about all that we do, we have seen the impact that it's had out there, and so it means that that's the way to go, being professional and getting the competent people to really take charge of affairs. That's one of the areas, and of course, discipline. In this age of show business, we need that because I tell some of my colleagues that, look, the kind of stuff that we put out there, we have so much power that we don't realize, and this medium that the content and materials we put out there, we're selling a part of this industry, and we have to be very, very responsible that we're making the right choices so that it won't come back to haunt us or hate us. And unfortunately, for the younger generation who are coming, whether they don't pick up those bad signs, for it to generate into something that we would never have anticipated.
Describe your life and journey with one word.
That would be tough, sir. Favor.
On this very favorable note, we bring our conversation in the engine room with Adjetey Anang to a close. Very reluctantly, because Adjetey is one of my main men I really admire and appreciate him for what he does and what he represents. And just to sign up for every one of you who's a note taker like me, let's find out what Agita has been sharing with us today. I've had to combine some of them because the lessons were more than 10. And as usual, we need to give you 10 for your notes. So tell me which of these 10 lessons from Agita is your favorite. The first one is about admiring the gurus and also by seizing the opportunity. He says he spent time just admiring the experts plied their craft until one day when an opportunity came because somebody didn't show up, a Gabi didn't show up, and he stepped in. That's lesson number one. Number two is about professionalism. He says theater makes you take on a role that is sometimes not you, and you have to wear it like a piece of clothing and take it off. And he says that also comes with perception, because sometimes people assume that you are the bad character they see, and they shield their children or their daughters from you. So it's about professionalism and then also perception. The three is about intellect and philosophy. He's challenging theater, film, drama to make us reflect and engender societal change, and not just the humor, the wit, the fun in themselves. Number four is training. He talks about honing his craft at the School of Performing Arts and going on to be a lecturer at NAFTI. Number five is about observation. He says, in taking on a role, you sometimes need to observe, research, and adapt to that role. And he had to spend time in bars watching characters and learning from them. Number six is about invisible roles. Since the industry is far larger than you think, and people like those who do costumes, those who do the effects, and so on, are really a science, not just something that is done haphazardly. Number seven is delayed gratification. He says he walked away from a very huge amount of money that he still thinks about, but it was the right decision, and God honored him by blessing him immensely for that decision. Number eight is about excellence. He says he celebrates someone like Shirley Frimpong Manso, who has the guts to come on set and demand excellence, no matter who you are, whether you're an A-list actor or not. Demand the quality she wants and the way she wants it on set, and engage you until it comes out right. Number nine, his greatest fear is insincere feedback or acting and somebody getting nothing out of the film. And then number 10, he says the theater industry is fraught with temptation, and it's a very tough terrain that nothing prepares you for. And his greatest source of support has been his wife, holding his hand and trusting God with him that he will be fine, and he has been fine, and he will be fine. Adjetey, this is my list of 10. Which one is your favorite?
Probably the last.
The last one?
Yeah.
On your easy, but God is your strength.
Yes.
A big thank you to you for joining us on Springboard, a virtual university. I've really enjoyed this time in the engine room, sharing things that probably you will not find anywhere else but here on your virtual university. And we pray for God's blessing on this journey, and may the next 10 years, 20 years be even better as you ply your crafts at the global level and also continue serving God in the beautiful way that you do.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So, on behalf of Team Springboard, led by Comfort, my name is Albert Ocran, thanking you on behalf of our sponsors, MTN Plus, the Enterprise Group, UMB Bank, the Graphic Communications Group, and the Multimedia Group that provides the platform to carry this right there to you in your homes. I want to sign off by saying, God bless you, and God bless you.